Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Hire Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
Today, I would like to start with a question. What if you could 15x your company in 24 months? We all understand that this is virtually impossible as a solopreneur, as delegation creates space for growth. It is very possible for you to 15x your business by dedicating yourself to becoming really good at hiring. This starts with changing your attitude. I hate hiring, or I'm not good at hiring, or I'll delegate this to someone else will not get you where you want to go. It also sets you and your team up for failure. So today is your wake-up call to embrace getting really good at hiring, because the lifeblood of your business is who you hire. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Hire Power Radio Show. We help entrepreneurs and executives win the strongest hires by sharing insights from top-performing rebel entrepreneurs, game changers, and industry leaders, like our guest today, Mr. Johnny Robinson. Now, Johnny is the owner of Orange Window Cleaning and Mary and a Mop Maid Service. During his freshman year in college, Johnny and his best friend Sergio started a window cleaning company by going door to door from small to small mom and pop businesses. As they continued to pound the pavement, the business started to grow through word of mouth, and they started to see the potential for an actual business. By building a great reputation and doubling down on digital marketing, Orange Window Cleaning has at least doubled every year since they started the business. One key component to this rapid growth has been hiring for performance, which is what makes Johnny the perfect expert for today's topic. Johnny, welcome to the Hire Power Radio Show today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. What an intro. This is exciting.
I'm happy to have you, man. Now, so for all of our audience, Johnny is part of my EO group, and he's probably one of the most switched on, like, entrepreneurs that I know. He's like always creating new businesses and going, which I totally feed off of. So thank you, Johnny, for being you.
No problem, man. Always happy to help.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to start off today. We're going to talk about why it's important to change your relationship with hiring. And then we're going to talk about some of the lessons that Johnny's learned and through building his company, and then how we can convey that into your business. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. So we started doing this a few weeks ago, where we start out with a hiring story, either good or bad. And for some reason, everybody wants to tell like their bad hires stories, which are like kind of funny, right? So I'm going to let you open up with that, Johnny. Tell us about maybe a story of a bad hire you made, and what made it a bad hire.
So I can proudly say, I don't know if I should proudly say, but confidently say I have probably one of the worst hiring stories. As you know, Rick explained a little bit in the intro, I run Orange Window Cleaning and Mary and a Mop. We've had up to 8 W-2 employees at Orange Window Cleaning before. Right now we use all subcontractors, but when we were building our team, we would just mindlessly hire whoever had 2 legs and could get up on a ladder, basically. So long story short, one day, what was that?
2 legs and a ladder.
Yep, that's it. So long story short, I've actually never told this story publicly, and I tell a lot of stories and kind of business tips publicly, but I've never told this one. So just because I'm a little reluctant to share, but I'm on Rick's show, so I got to bring the best story. And what happened was we had 2 guys. One of them was an employee referral from one of the other guys. So we'll call them Jim and Bob. I'm not going to use their real name, but let's say Jim and Bob. And we had one of those employees referred from Jim. And so Jim and Bob happened to be on a truck cleaning windows together that day. And they're on the last job of the day. And I get a call from our office manager saying, hey, Jim and Bob just finished up at this customer's house, and they're really mad because they missed a window or something. I said, okay, well, they just left, so go ahead and send them back. And she goes, no, they don't want them back. And so, boom, there's the gut punch. And I'm thinking, oh no, what happened? And I was not prepared for what came next, but she told me that they were caught doing drugs in their bathroom. And so they were snorting blow in the bathroom. And
cocaine.
Yeah. So doing blow in the bathroom, and I know it happened because the customer actually sent me pictures of the residue of what they were using. One went into the bathroom, turned the water on, left it on so they couldn't hear him, snorting it up or whatever they were doing. And then another guy came in and did the same thing. So my worst fears start getting in my head. Oh my God, if they leave a bad review and they post a picture, I'm screwed. Orange window cleaning's over with. I'm not going to have a business anymore. So all those things are racing through my head. But that was a big wake up call for me because I know I needed to take hiring more seriously.
So that was your wake up call to taking hiring more seriously right there.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. I
Yeah.
love it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of that. That's a great story, by the way. Thank you for sharing that because look we've all made bad hires. I've told a couple stories of hires that I thought were great and they were actually working out and they've turned into a disaster. And, hey, it's great to know that it's not just you who made a bad hire.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you were facing when you were building the company, or some of the challenges that people might be experiencing today.
Yeah, number one thing for me was I just hated hiring. I think most people can relate to that of just like hiring's a drain, and especially when you've got a bunch of problems going on and you the business owner wearing a ton of hats. Hiring is one thing you got to worry about on top of the marketing, quality control, fulfillment, all this stuff. So it really puts you in a bind when you need to hire. So one, I hated hiring, but getting put in these positions over and over again of me getting out of the field and having to step back in the field because somebody called out or somebody quit unexpectedly or someone just didn't work out and I couldn't send them to jobs. I would have to step back in, and that creates a bottleneck because the more that I'm in the field working in the business, the more the business isn't growing. So, huge wake up call that I had to get over my hatred of hiring and really start to take it seriously and build a system just like we did for marketing. So, we really had to look at it in terms of marketing, like always be selling, always be marketing. Well, we realized we needed to always be hiring, especially after talking to Rick in our EO meetings and stuff. I was like, okay, this guy knows his stuff. So that was really the turning point, was that story that I just told you guys, and then building the system and the funnel around hiring good people, and then also doing a good job at vetting them and asking certain questions that are tied to our core values, so we can kind of bring in people who actually align with our goals and what we're doing as a company, and not just somebody that has two legs in the ladder.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a little bit, but so you hated hiring. Let's talk a little bit about that because you're not alone in that. I've talked to so many entrepreneurs that either say, you know what, I'm not good at it, I don't like it, I'd rather hire somebody else to do it for me, right? I think that is something that is just like you're doing a pitch deck or doing something else for your business that you have to do. It's just as important. And I found that the entrepreneurs that really excel are the ones who really enjoy hiring.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I didn't learn to enjoy it. I definitely still don't enjoy it, but I know it's something that's got to be done.
When I get done with you, you'll love it. You'll be like, let's hire more people.
Hopefully, man, I'd love to get there.
So why do you feel that this is important? Like getting good at hiring or embracing it. Why do you feel it's important to your company?
Because having a good hiring system in place is going to eliminate bottlenecks, right? I mean, if you're in a service-based business, I'm going to talk about a service-based business as an example because that's what I know. That's what I built, home service specifically. But if we want to grow our revenue, the number one thing is having the people in place to do so. Because me and Sergio is my business partner, to give you guys some background.
Yep.
Me and Sergio want to hop on a truck. Me and him can go dish out anywhere between 10 to 20K a month. Actually, us cleaning the windows 5 days a week, no problem. But what happens when we want to get to 40K or 60K, right? And we know a two-man crew can produce $20,000. Well, we need to create a system that replicates that. So I kind of forgot what your question was because I'm rambling at this point, but could you remind me?
Well, why was it important to your company?
Yeah, so the reason it was important was because of the nature of how to scale this business, right? It relied solely on hiring. And as a business owner, especially a new business owner, you want to focus on sales. And if you're just focusing on sales and you're booking way too many jobs, it's like a two-legged stool, right? You need to make sure that your leads and your marketing is coinciding with your hiring, so you have enough guys to fulfill all the labor you're booking or all the jobs you're booking. And so what we're doing was we were booking way too many jobs. And so realizing that I needed to start to like hiring more because I have to. Like, it's the nature of the business. If I want to grow the business to get to $1 million, I have to learn how to hire properly and vet guys.
You said something really interesting earlier, which was focusing to treat your marketing like, I mean, you're hiring like it's a marketing activity, right? So you probably have grown to love the marketing side, right? Because you're kind of seeing some traction and you're seeing things happen. I think they're so similar. Sales, marketing, and hiring are like, there's your three-legged stool. That's the third leg of your two-legged stool, right? Um, I think if you tell yourself that I'm going to make a sale today, then you're going to manifest it and make a sale today. If you tell yourself, hey, we're going to make a great hire, or tell yourself, hey, I'm really good at hiring, I love hiring, then I think that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, self-talk is definitely important. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you compare it to sales. I mean, the best sales guys always have good self-talk, always have good mental exercises before they go into closing deals, things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's huge. Like, your self-talk, especially around any subject you want to improve on, is super important, because if you tell yourself you're bad at it or you don't like it, then yeah, you're not going to get good at it.
Then you're going to be
So
good. Yeah, you're
yeah.
going to be bad at it for sure.
Mhm.
All right, you're listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. For our podcast listeners, we're going to take a quick educational moment from our sponsors. Hey, check out stridesearch.com. There you'll find additional content and resources and a link to order your book, Healing Career Wounds, which is your new guide to landing the strongest hires. We're talking to Johnny Robinson, who's the owner of Orange Window Cleaning. And we're talking about really how to transform your hiring practices to get you to a point where, like, you love it. He doesn't love it yet, but the episode's not over yet. So we're going to work on that. So let's talk about how we solve this problem, right? So let's break down, if you can, for me, how did you avoid making that next hire of another cocaine cowboy?
Cocaine Cowboy. Yeah, so we realized after we let him go, we're like, okay, we need to just stop, overly jumping the gun on hires, and it's okay if we have to go in the field for a bit and start telling ourselves, look, sometimes you have to hire slow. So we switched our focus from hiring super fast and urgency based hiring and fear based hiring, really, because we were kind of operating from a scarcity mentality of, like, we just need guys to grow, So we're like, okay, let's jump back in the field for a bit. Let's really focus on the process. And so what we did was we created a two-step hiring process where we would put up paid ads on, like, Indeed or something like ZipRecruiter, and we would have my mom wasn't doing much at the time, so we were paying her to vet all the inbound applicants. And so we'd vet them out. She would ask them strategic questions, scenario-based questions that would tie to our core values. Like, tell me about a time you faced adversity and pushed through it, or whatever, and somehow that would tie to a core value. I can't think back on the exact questions we would ask because we don't run that same funnel anymore. We use subcontractors, but things like that. It wasn't like the basic questions you hear in the normal interview process. So
Sure.
that was key. And only the best applicants would get pushed through to then Sergio, who would then do the final call and make the judgment on whether or not to hire them. And what we saw was, or sorry, go ahead.
What was the vetting? So the vetting process was actually getting how many people through, right? Because
Yeah, so
you're screening out probably a lot more than what normally would have gotten through the funnel.
yeah, we would be getting, I think, 1 to 200 applicants a week, and then we would take 5 to 6 on the calls.
Okay.
And then end up hiring. We would test different things. We'd end up hiring one. We would hire a group, like, so maybe out of those 6, we'd hire 4, and then we knew we were going to keep 2, and we would say, look, we're going to bring you on for a training day. And this doesn't mean you're hired. It's going to make sure it's a good fit, so you can pick up the squeegee, you can get to learn how to do this stuff, see if it's a good fit for you, but also see if it's a good fit for us as well. And so that way we would vet down, like, it was so good, because then you whip out the 32-foot ladder and say, okay, all right, can you climb up this ladder? And the guys who are kind of shaking and, all nervous about it, we kind of know right from the jump, like, okay, they're probably not going to be a good fit. And just, like, you can tell little signs based on how they work, how quickly they work, whether or not they're trying to figure out something to do, or if they're just standing around waiting to be told what to do. So that was a good way to really, really vet good guys. And that was also the way we were able to land really, really good, a couple of our really, really good employees.
Nice. Well, let's go back to referrals, because so you had mentioned earlier that you had we'll call him Cocaine Cowboy number one, brought in one of his friends, right?
Hmm.
So that was a referral. So, and was this a problematic employee before the cocaine incident, or was it actually somebody who like was a good employee and just got caught?
So he was really good to start. So the reason we liked him was because he had the window cleaning experience already down in another county, and he had moved to Orange County. And I was like, okay, he's got the experience. We did a test cleaning for him. We said, hey, come clean this house, see how you do. Clean it by himself, super quick. And there was really no signs there of kind of substance abuse. And so we're like, let's give him a shot. And so he was pretty good for the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden we started seeing signs of substance abuse, and we were like, okay, well, this is getting concerning. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it was on us. We should have canned him the moment he was showing signs of that. But what happened was we prolonged that, and then look what happens. Something that nobody wants to happen. Worst fear of any business owner. They go and do drugs at the customer's house.
Yeah. Now, number two, was this somebody who was a friend of his that he referred into the company?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Not a friend that he was necessarily close to. It was more of a high school friend, and they had kept in touch here and there. They weren't super close, but I mean, I guess they got rekindled real quick.
They were
When-
close enough.
yeah.
Close enough to share a straw or a dollar bill or something, right?
Yep.
All right. So, so that brings up a really interesting point, which is, okay, so taking a referral from another person, was that something that who wasn't necessarily one of your A players, right? I talk a lot about referrals on the show and how it's really important to work that network. Um, when you brought that person in, was did that person go through the same vetting process, or because it was a referral, was it kind of maybe a fast track hire?
Yeah, because it was a referral, it was a fast track hire, but like you said, it wasn't an A player we were getting a referral from.
Yeah.
It was a B, a C, I would even call him a D player. So you can kind of get a feel for what kind of person that's going to attract based on who he's referring.
Gotcha. All right. So you stopped taking referrals from lower performers then at that
Right,
point.
exactly. Yeah. And
Okay.
referrals have worked well for us when they're from A players.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Consider the source of the
Mhm.
referral.
Absolutely.
But also, don't fast track people because, C players can refer in somebody who's an A player, but you just got to vet them just like you would anybody else. Somebody that you don't know, don't take anybody's word for it.
Hmm.
I think that creates unfairness in the interview process when you just automatically assume somebody's going to be good, or you fast track somebody because of the fact that they came in through Silent Bob, or whoever it was, right?
Hmm. Yep. Agreed.
Okay. So referrals, vetting. Okay. So you talked a little bit about vetting, this pre-qualification process tied to your core values. So you guys were creating basically behavioral questions, putting it in your phone screen.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, my mom would ask them all those questions, and then also do kind of a vibe check, right? If how the person's talking to them on the phone, are they excited? Do they seem like they don't care? You can get a good feel for someone just by the tone of their voice and how serious they're taking the interview.
Did you guys ever try the question like, walk me through a time when you left cocaine at a job site?
No, I didn't think of that one.
Well, I mean, that would have if somebody actually tried to answer it, that would let you know whether or not somebody else had a drug problem, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get off that subject now. Okay, so great job of vetting kind of people as you move them through. What would be the next step that you put in the process?
Yeah. So then we would take the best 5 to 6 of those that we had calls with. Sometimes my mom would do 20 calls in a day. So she's grinding through these applicants. And after that, they then we tested a few things. So what we do, we did the live training, which worked really well. We also did group interviews where we take those 5 to 6 and throw them in a group interview. And what would happen was none of them would show up sometimes. So that was cool. But we would do that, or we would just do a one-to-one with Sergio and the top applicants, top 5 to 6 applicants, and they would come to the office, sit down with Sergio. He would then do an in-person interview, get kind of a vibe check. How do they show up to the interview? I mean, it's a window cleaning job. We're not expecting you to be dressed to the nine, but at least show up presentable. And so that was a good way to kind of get a feel for someone, see if they're a good fit, and Yeah, just get the vibe check.
Got it. Okay. What was your mentality around kind of, you mentioned that you kind of tied this to a marketing activity, right?
Mhm.
So what were you doing to kind of treat this process like a marketing activity?
Yeah, so we would do so like I said, always be marketing, always be hiring. That's the mentality we took to the business, and so we constantly spend money on advertising, anywhere between 5 to 15% on marketing a month of revenue. So we did the same thing with hiring. So we would just be spending maybe $100 to $200 a week just to get applicants in the door at all times.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And then what about, I think when we talked prior, you also, I think the last piece that you told me about was that you really set a pay structure that helped to accelerate the business. Tell me a little
Mhm.
bit about that.
Yeah. So and then we realized we were paying our guys hourly. A lot of them were getting off at 5, 6, sometimes 7 or 8 p.m. And it was bothering us because we're like, how are they not working fast? How are they not working fast? Well, we had to think in the minds of an employee where getting paid by the hour, whether you like it or not, 99% of the time, it's very rare you find someone, in my experience, that doesn't work a little bit slower to get paid more because you're getting paid by the hour. Like literally,
Yeah.
the more time you stay, the more you get paid.
Yeah.
Plus, past 8 hours in California, you start getting OT. So we realized, okay, we need to figure out a way to cut that down. One, because guys, like there was guys on our team who wanted to get off earlier, but they're getting up 5, 6, and we needed a way to incentivize performance. So what we did was we came up with a commission-based structure. I say commission; it wasn't a sales role. I say commission because it was a commission of the truck's invoice for the day. So let's say the truck was doing $1,000, a technician was doing all those jobs by himself. He would make anywhere between 25 to 30% of that, depending on where he was at on the pay scale. Our better guys are making closer to 30%. So that way, their income is fixed. And there's a floor too, right? Like you can't go below minimum wage. If they take so long that they're making less than minimum wage, we'll just pay the minimum wage.
Got it.
But this worked out really well because now you can work and get jobs done as fast as you want them, as fast as you can get them done, and get off earlier at 3 to 4 p.m. Our cost of goods sold is now more predictable because it's fixed, right? Like if they're getting paid 29%, we know our cost of goods sold is going to be around 29%. So that actually brought our cost of goods sold way down by like a 10% margin. And then our guys started getting off way earlier. They started doing better jobs, and we vetted out everybody who's just not an A player. Everybody who was milking the clock and didn't want to work, they didn't like the change at all. Like we got a lot of pushback from our team on that, and we lost a lot of people, but it worked out well.
See, I love the idea of performance-based pay structure, putting something in place where you're giving time back to people, but also they're performing at their optimal level while they're working for you. Does it really matter if they work the 8 hours? No, not really. You're better off getting like 4 hours of really good work in than you are 8 hours of not great work.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It worked out great. Highly recommend if you're in a home service based business.
Yeah, I follow you 100%. I think one of the things that pops into mind is that as you have been talking about what you guys set up, um, and you're talking about players and getting people really involved in or actually giving them what they want in order for them to perform. That is highly valuable, I think, for every business. Is that what people want or what's going to keep people performing the way you need them to perform. It's on an individual basis, but you have to really take that into consideration.
Hmm.
Um, and I think when you start seeing people who are better hires and they're sticking around, they're doing well, that practice that you put into place um, gets you to a point where you're going to start to love hiring more and more because you're attracting better people.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we switched our mentality from, you know, like I already said, like you treat it like sales. Like you need an appointment setter and you need a closer.
Yeah.
And my mom was the appointment setter. Sergio was the closer. Same thing.
Nice. All right. Well, shoot, we're getting pretty close on time. I told you it flies, right?
Hmm.
Flies by,
I'm
right?
having fun. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Totally, totally. All right. So, what would be two or three key takeaways you can give the audience that can plug into their business today?
Yeah. So number one helped me a ton was industry specific podcasts. And obviously it's not going to work if you're in some like random niche industry. It's probably not a podcast about it, but there are podcasts on most things. So that home service expert podcast with Tommy Mello was huge for us. I mean, we learned all like the performance-based things from him and what he would talk about and how he incentivizes his employees. He's building $1 billion garage door repair business. So he's all about hiring and training and incentivizing. So number one takeaway,
radio, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about home service specifically, right? Industry specific podcast, but yeah, go to hiring guy Rick for sure. Definitely helped me out a ton just with quick questions and stuff I had. And then stop taking referrals from the wrong people, right? Like no referrals from C players, maybe a B player if you're feeling good about it, but definitely no referrals from C players. And then try to like a couple things. One, vet them really well with pre-qualification questions, right? Setter and closer, and then always be hiring. Like seriously, always have a set percentage of revenue set aside to hire employees because you need to be investing in your hiring process.
Yeah, that's the only way you can scale.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, thanks so much for your time investment today, and I want to welcome you to the Hire Power Radio community. Now, what would be the best way in which members of our audience could find you, find your company, and maybe engage you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm really active on pretty much all platforms. We're doing tons of content around the home service space and kind of sweaty startups, or we run our home service business completely remotely. So we teach people how to run businesses completely remotely. And you can find us at Squeegee God on Twitter or Johnny and Sergio on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. So it's just Johnny and spelled out Sergio on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, or Squeegee God on Twitter.
Awesome. I love the Squeegee God handle. Nice touch.
I was lucky to grab that one. Yeah.
Right.
One suits me well.
All right. Thank you to our listening audience for tuning in to this week's episode of Hire Power. Quick thanks to our team, Brian Colburn, Andrea Ballin, and Ayla Gerard. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, review, and share. After all, this content's for you. So we want to make sure that we're providing valuable content on a weekly basis. You can join the Hire Power Radio community at Hire, H-I-R-E, Power, P-O-W-E-R, radio, R-A-D-I-O.com, or you can drop me an email at rickatstridesearch.com. Tune in next Tuesday. Our guest is going to be Nicholas Vanderby. He is the co-founder and CEO of Chili Piper. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Hire Power Radio Show. Aloha. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Hire Power Radio. Catch our LinkedIn Live show every Tuesday at noon, or download the podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. We appreciate you joining us on Hire Power Radio with your guide to recruitment success, Rick Gerard.